Well, made up your mind yet, Joey?
How much are these again, Mr. Grafton?
Same price they were before, Joey. 5 for a penny.
And these?
Well, peppermints are a real bargain. 7 for a penny. I'll make it 8 if you decide right now.
Gosh.
Well?
I wish I could have the 8 for a penny peppermints.
Well, now, why can't you?
Because I don't have a penny.
Joey Starrett, do you mean to tell me you walked this far away home from school just to look?
It was worth it.
Give him the peppermints. Here's a penny.
I'm not supposed to take from strangers.
Oh? Well, my name is Lydia Montgomery. What's yours?
Joey Starrett.
Are you staying with us, ma'am?
Do you have a grandfather by the name of Tom?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'll be staying. And I'll need 2 rooms.
Aren't you traveling alone, Miss Montgomery?
There'll be someone meeting me here in a few days, and it's Mrs.
If it's your husband you're expecting, my rooms don't connect.
My husband was hanged 5 years ago in Springfield, Illinois.
My grandpa's from there.
Yes, I know.
Drop something?
Planting some flowers. Be a surprise for Marion.
Yeah, be a nice surprise for the chickens, too.
That's why you ought to get started building a little fence.
Fence for what?
Fence for your mom's flower bed, that's for what. How'd you do in school today in the spelling test?
88. I before E except after C. Oh, Grandpa, there was a lady in Grafton who said she knew you. A Mrs. Montgomery.
Joey, what was the lady's first name?
I don't know. I only heard it once.
Try and remember.
It was a funny name.
Was it Lydia?
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, boy. You can go on inside now.
It's Lydia Montgomery. She got a husband named Dave?
Yes, she did, Ann. How did you know that, Shane?
I used to work for him. How'd you happen to run into him?
Well, back when I was a judge, I had him hanged. Wonder what she's doing here now.
Well, it could be a coincidence.
Cut it out. Tell that to Joey, not to me.
I'm telling you, Tom, she hasn't stuck her nose out of that room all day.
She been asking about me?
When she came in, yeah.
I guess I better go see what she wants.
You want me to go with you?
No, it's my past, my job.
Who is it?
Tom's dad. Mrs. Montgomery?
Come in, Judge Sterrett. What can I do for you?
I'd like to know what you're doing here in Crossroads.
Just came to visit you, Judge.
Visit me? Why?
Because we haven't seen each other for such a long time. You and I haven't had a chance to talk in... How long has it been, Judge?
I don't remember.
It'll be 5 years this next Thursday. Of course, you and I didn't get a chance to talk much that day, did we? The day you sentenced my husband to death.
I still don't know what you want here.
Doesn't seem like 5 years, does it? Each day seems like 5 years. Each chill, empty night seems like a century. Does it seem that way to you, Judge?
No, I came out here after the war. I've had a good life here.
Oh? I had a good life. Once. My husband had a good life, too.
What do you want?
I already told you. I just came to visit.
Your husband was found guilty, Mrs. Montgomery.
If anyone should know about guilt, I'd say you'd be the man. Judge.
Maybe it's money she wants.
No, honey, I don't think it's that.
But if she thought you felt guilty...
I don't. Judge gets paid to read the law and do what it says to do. He had a lawyer and jury. They found him guilty. I had no other choice.
Well, she wouldn't think so. You could have sent him to jail.
Wasn't that kind of a case. Man was killed in cold blood. Now, you weren't there, Shane. I was.
We're not talking about what I think. I'm just trying to figure out what she thinks.
How do you figure out a woman like that? Out of her head.
With grief, Tom.
Yeah. I know.
Did you keep any records on that trial?
No. No, I got rid of all my records when I came out here to live with Marion and Joy.
You used to write to Joe every week, Tom. There might be something in one of those letters about the trial. I'll go and look.
No! It's not necessary.
But you used to mention the cases you tried.
5 years ago. You wouldn't find the right one.
They're all dated. It wouldn't be any trouble.
Warm it up for you. Tom, you know how Joey can't look you in the eye when he's trying to weasel out of something?
Yeah.
You haven't looked me in the eye once all day, Tom.
Here it is. I found it. But there's something just...
What?
Look, Tom, you start out on the first page talking about the trial, but here on the last page, you're writing. It looks just like Joey's.
Must have been drunk. I'm feeling tired. I think I'll turn in. Good night.
Grandpa?
You're supposed to be asleep there, mister.
Grandpa, what's a guilty man?
Why do you ask?
Because I heard you talking, and I don't know what it means.
That means whether or not you did something. We say that a man's guilty of robbing a bank.
Could I be guilty of good things?
I don't know what you mean.
Could I be guilty of doing my chores?
No. No, guilty is just for bad things.
Have you ever been guilty of anything?
Well, one time or another, I guess every man has.
Has Shane ever been guilty of anything?
Shane isn't perfect. No man is.
Well, I still bet that Shane never did anything that he'd be guilty for.
Joey, I'm tired of hearing you prattle on about Shane. Now,
What did I do wrong?
you didn't do anything wrong, boy. My fault. I apologize. I'm sorry. You mad?
No, sir. You always said it took a big man to apologize.
God love you, boy. God love you.
Hey! Is there anybody here?
I'm coming, mister. Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Looking for Lydia Montgomery. She's expecting me.
You a friend of hers? It's kind of late.
It's not that late. Hello, Lee.
Hello, Lydia.
We'd better talk.
Nice meeting you, Mr.
Nice meeting you, too, mister. My room like this?
It's smaller.
You found him?
Yes. He's living not far from here with his daughter-in-law. I saw him this afternoon.
You didn't tell him anything.
No, of course not.
You know, Lydia, I've got to hand it to you. I don't know any other woman who would get me to come to some rat hole like this just to kill a man.
Thanks for coming by so late, Sam.
All right, Shane, anytime. Anything I can do, you know that.
Yeah. Good night.
Hi, Shane.
What's Sam doing here at this time of night?
You got me off guard. I can't think up a good lie.
Bad news?
Well, it might be. Mrs. Montgomery had a visitor.
Who?
Well, I don't know for sure. It could be an old friend of her husband's, a railroad detective. Tom, we might be making a lot more out of this than there really is.
No, we're not. There's a lot to it already, more than you know. Something like this makes a man look at himself hard. That's what I've been doing. Isn't a very pretty view. Being a judge was hard. Being a drunk was easy.
Those days are over, Tom.
No, they aren't, Shane. You know, I always want you to go into that saloon and get a soda pop for Joey. Because there's something still in me that'd like to take all that whiskey and warm it up. Never stop pouring. Something still in me that'd like to take all that booze and build me a fortress against the world with high walls and a thick roof.
Same things you need for a tomb.
No, Shane. A lot of times I've thought we're a lot alike, you and me. With me, it's the bottle. With you, it's that gun. Both need that girl a lot, don't we?
Like some coffee?
Yeah.
I got a customer in the store. Help yourself.
Morning, Lee.
Shane, what the devil are you doing here? You want a cup of coffee?
Yeah, I could go for one.
This doesn't beat all. Come to a place like this, and here you are. You just passing through?
No, I work here. For a man named Tom Sterrett.
He hire you?
Now, not the way you think. I'm a farmhand.
If you're just a farmhand, then there's no problem.
Then there's a problem.
How much would it take to buy you off?
You haven't got enough.
I'm gonna kill him.
You'll have to buy yourself a new belly button.
Shane, he hung an innocent man.
He says he didn't, and I'm siding with him.
I was there. I testified at the trial. And half the time he was so drunk he couldn't remember his own name.
Lee, I'm not going to debate it with you. Just get this straight. You lay a hand on Tom Sterrett, and I'll kill you. Thanks for the coffee.
We got a problem.
What is it?
You ever recollect Dave telling you about a man called Shane? Worked with us one season?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's working out at the Starrett place. He just was here and warned me about doing anything to the old man.
And you're afraid, is that it?
A smart man would be.
Dave wouldn't have been.
Look, Lydia, no one thought more of Dave than I did. But he was just a man, a good one, a brave one, but a man. He never was what you've made him these past 5 years.
I think I'm the best judge of that.
The devil you are.
I don't want to talk about this, Lee.
Well, I do, and we are. What you've got built up in your mind just ain't so, never was. Maybe you think it does you good to think of Dave like that. But you're wrong, it just hurts you.
And how does it hurt me?
Because it keeps you from ever looking warm at anybody else. What you got built up no man could touch. And you're the kind of woman who ought to be touched from time to time.
Now you've made your point. It's my turn. I can't stop you from backing out of this if that's what you want to do. But I can only tell you one thing. If you were dead, Dave wouldn't rest easy until he had done something about it. He wouldn't run.
Neither will I. That's a promise.
Thank you, Lee. Now, excuse me, I've got to get dressed.
can do it, Tom.
I know you can, honey, but it helps if I have something to do.
Did you find out anything?
Yeah. She brought in that man to kill Tom.
Well, it's a relief to have it out in the open, isn't it?
Shane, maybe you should ride into Laramie and get the sheriff.
No. Can't do that. That'd take 4 or 5 days. I've only got 2.
How do you know that?
Thursday, 5th anniversary. That's what she's waiting for. The 5th anniversary of the hanging. Worst thing is, maybe I got it coming to me.
Tom, that's not true.
Oh, you don't know that, honey. Neither do I. I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean to wake you up.
Oh, that's all right. I was having a hard time getting to sleep myself. Would you like some coffee? I can heat up the stove.
No. It isn't coffee that I need right now. I just gotta think.
Would it help to talk?
I don't want to trouble you. Heaven knows you've got enough troubles of your own without listening to any of mine. Well, you go on back to bed now. I'll be all right.
Are you sure?
Quite sure. What was that for?
Because I love you.
Grandpa,
What, Joey?
aren't you ever coming to bed?
Yes, Joey. A little while.
You've got to go to sleep, Grandpa, or else you won't grow up.
I know, boy. A little while now.
Can't you come now, Grandpa? I don't want to be alone.
You aren't alone, Joey. Your mom's here.
That's not what I mean. It's dark in here. And it's scary alone in the dark, Grandpa.
Being a foolish old man, I guess.
What does that mean?
I'd call it for a complicated answer, Joey. Much too complicated to explain it this time, Rick. Are you cold, boy?
Kind of. Where have you got your gun? Are you going to shoot something?
Yeah, I was thinking of it. How's that, you warmer?
Yes, sir. Grandpa, are you crying?
Huh? No, I'm not. It must be the wind and blue water in my eyes.
Looks like it. See?
Yeah, I see.
But it's It's just the wind, huh?
Just the wind.
Mom, how come Grandpa didn't snore last night?
What do you mean, Joey?
Well, last night I didn't hear him snore once.
Are you sure?
Yes, ma'am. He was up real late. I went out in the yard and found him. We talked. Then he went to bed. But I didn't hear him snore. Honest.
What did you talk about, Joey?
I thought he was crying, but he said it was the wind. He had his gun.
Are you positive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he say why he wanted his gun?
No. Is something the matter with Grandpa?
No, of course not, Joey. Now, come on, get to school. Your lunch is over here.
Mom, Grandpa isn't like Shane, is he?
Like Shane?
You said someday Shane would ride off and never come back. Grandpa isn't like that, is he?
No, of course not. Now, hurry up.
Seven bottles of Dr. Williams Iron Tonic.
7, 5, Dr.
Seven. You get that?
7?
7.
Oh, that's what I got, Mr. Grafton.
Keep going on the drugs, Ben. Morning, Mrs. Starrett.
Good morning, Sam.
What can I do for you?
Is that lady still staying here?
Mrs. Montgomery? Yes, Ben took a breakfast up to her room about an hour ago. Why?
Well, I'd like to see her.
Miss Starrett, it's not my business, but if I was you, I'd stay away from her.
Are you warning me, Sam?
Yep.
Well, thank you for your concern, but I'm not afraid.
Excuse me, ma'am. The lady doesn't want to be disturbed.
I think she will see me.
She doesn't want to see anybody.
Who are you?
My name's Marion Starrett. Tom Starrett's my father-in-law.
What do you want?
I'd like to talk with you.
Why did he send you? I thought perhaps he might send his son to plead for his life.
My husband's dead.
It's all right, Lee. Mrs. Starrett and I we'll talk. Come in, Mrs. Starrett. Sit down. It was quite senseless of you to come here. You know that, don't you?
If I thought that, I wouldn't be here.
Were you in love with your husband, Mrs. Starrett?
Very much.
Then perhaps you can understand how I feel. My husband was an extraordinary man. Was yours?
I like to think so. At least to me, he was.
I suppose to every woman in love, the man is extraordinary. We women really aren't such complicated creatures, are we? When you come right down to it. You and I are really very much alike. Why haven't you remarried? You're pretty. You're still young. I suppose that is an unfair question.
No, it's not so unfair. But I don't know you well enough to give you a truthful answer.
What do you want from me, Mrs. Sterrett?
Forgiveness. For a man who's paid dearly for whatever mistakes he's made in life. My father-in-law is not a bad man, Mrs. Montgomery.
I know what he is. 5 years ago, today, I sat with my husband in a jail cell. The next morning, he was to hang. A sentence imposed by your father-in-law, a drunken judge who was not interested in justice, only revenge. My husband was innocent, but no one would listen.
Are you sure of that?
My husband was not afraid of death, Mrs. Sterrett. He had lived in its shadow most of his life. He was a true man, a godly man, and he never lied to me. That day in the cell, he told me that a mistake had been made, that someone had wanted him out of the way, and that he had not killed Charles Taylor, and I believed him. Wouldn't you have?
In your place, yes.
And I went to your father-in-law's hotel to beg him for a little more time, a little mercy. And he was so drunk that he couldn't even stand up when I walked in the room. And he had been that way since midway in the trial. And then I knew.
You what?
I knew that my husband had been wrong, that it had not been a plot against his life. It hadn't even been a mistake, but the mind of one man twisted and befuddled by drink. A man given the power of life and death over my husband. And that's what condemned him. And that's what I cannot forgive.
But what good will this do now?
No. It won't even repay me for the nights. Those long nights. The empty place beside me on the bed where he used to be. Warm and real. And secure. No, Mrs. Sterrett. It won't bring him back. But it might relieve this gnawing that I feel here in my heart.
I pity you, Mrs. Montgomery.
Oh, I don't want your pity.
But I want your mercy. Don't you see?
I don't have any to give. I feel sorry for you, but I can't change it, even if I wanted to.
Mrs. Montgomery, even if all you say is true, you're destroying a man. A good man. I don't know what Tom was before I knew him, but I know what he is now. He's kind and loving. He's gentle and true and hard-working. Men change with time. And if you take his life from him, you're as wrong as he was in condemning your husband. Worse, because he's paid for his crime. Please, go back where you came from. Let him live out his life. Please.
I want to be alone if you don't mind.
I do pity you.
I could have told you. You're wasting your time.
Yes.
It's been that way since he was hanged. It took her 5 years to trace that old man to this place. 5 years.
Are you?
The executioner? Yes, ma'am. Bought and paid for.
You can't just kill him.
I'll be coming for him first thing in the morning. Right after first light, you can tell Shane. And tell him only one man has to die.
Come in.
Got your supper ready? Want it up here?
No, I'll come down.
Lydia.
Strange, isn't it? It was raining that night, too, remember?
I remember.
We always loved those cold, clear mornings. We used to walk in the woods beyond the house. Trees were so beautiful without their leaves.
Lydia.
I remember once. Said the trees were in mourning for the summer. He was a poet at heart, wasn't he, Lee?
Lydia, he's dead.
Not to me.
Look. After this is over, let's keep going west. California, maybe. Start a new life. Forget the past.
In my mind, I can see him hanging there. In the cold. I know it happened. But even now, I still expect to hear his foot on the porch, or his hand turn the doorknob.
Lydia, you're not listening to...
Oh, he just won't die, Lee. He just won't die.
God in heaven, if I could bring him back to life, I would. For you, I would do anything. I can only kill a man. I can't breathe new life into him.
Gotta get out of here. Don't you know that they're upstairs?
I know.
Have you lost your mind? That man up there is gonna kill you.
Give me a bottle, Sam. I'm old enough, aren't I?
Yeah, but Tom, you haven't taken
Doesn't make any difference. By tomorrow morning, I won't be around to trouble anybody, least of all myself. Paying the cash for the bottle. Do I get it or don't I?
Tom, does Marion know you're here?
Knows I'm not home, if that's what you mean.
I shouldn't let you do this, Tom. You know that.
Sam, you're not my keeper, you're my bartender, so start tending, huh? $5 years since I touched any of this stuff. 5 years. You ever wonder, Sam, how a man can build a wall out of liquid?
Sam? Evening, Shane.
Where you been? Marion's been worried sick about you.
Out. Went for a ride, let the wind clear my head. Thought it all over, and then I came here.
Well, don't you think it's about time we went home now?
Nope. It's gonna happen, better it happens here.
Nothing's gonna happen while I'm around.
Oh, Shane. There's some things a gun can't protect a man against. I think you know that as well as I do.
What's this all about, Tom?
A flaw, Sam. I've lived over half a century. Learned to know myself pretty well in that amount of time. That's where you and I are so very different, Shane. You're so very lucky to be young. I used to be a judge, Sam. Spent my life with the law. Loved it, honored it, tried to keep it inviolate. You train your mind to think clearly in the light of the law, like looking at the world through bright and clear glass. Then one day there's a flaw, a tiny distortion. It shatters everything you see.
Tom, was Montgomery innocent?
I think he was, Shane.
And why did
I hang him? That was another part of the flaw. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The jury came back in 20 minutes. My duty under the law was clear. Oh, sure, I'd been drinking, but I wasn't that drunk. I knew the law was functioning in that blind way she has to condemn an innocent man.
You could have stopped it.
Nothing I could do then. Jury found him guilty of murder in the first degree. I had no other choice. Can't tell you how many nights I've spent thinking about the case, rehearing the evidence, wondering...
Wondering what, Judge? What?
Wondering whether the flaw was in me or in the law or in the evidence itself.
And what conclusion did you reach, Judge Starrett?
It was in the evidence. It was in the law. And it was in me.
And what did you find in the evidence? I want to know!
Maddox, you testified at the trial.
Yeah?
You and Montgomery were assigned by the railroad to investigate a leak in the company management that made it possible for speculators to buy up tracts of land ahead of the railroad route. I believe that's how it was.
We all know that. What's the use of going over it?
No, I want to hear.
Well, your husband, Mrs. Montgomery, discovered that the vice president of the railroad, Charles Taylor, was supplying information to the speculators. I believe that was quite clear. And Mr. Taylor paid your husband a great deal of money to abort the investigation.
That is a lie. David never did a dishonest thing in his life.
Doesn't sound much like Dave to me either, Tom.
Just a minute, Shane. Maddox here found your husband's name in Taylor's books, the amounts and the dates he was paid the bribery money. That true, Mr. Maddox?
It's true. Much to my regret, he said so at the trial.
Your husband was found in Taylor's office the night of September the 14th. Taylor had been shot 6 times.
Tom.
That's right, Shane. It's another part of the flaw.
The flaw?
Your husband was a Westerner, Mrs. Montgomery. Out of habit, he kept 5 rounds in his gun, with the hammer always down in the empty chamber.
You know this?
Anyone who's ever worn a gun in his hip knows it.
And he was innocent.
I think he was.
And you let him go to his death, knowing this?
Nothing I could do. Because...
Because you were too drunk! You were too drunk to care!
Yes, that was my part of the flaw. That's why I quit the bench. I couldn't face up to sending any more men to their deaths. One murder doesn't justify another, even if the law pretends that it does. Even if society demands it. Revenge is wrong.
Tom.
That's some of it, Shane. I'm guilty. I sentenced a man, an innocent man, to be hanged.
And you've had to live with that?
Yes, I've had to live with it. I have to die for it, and Nobody's going to stop you, Mrs. Montgomery. Nor even blame you.
Lydia, he was expendable. He was caught between two forces. Someone had to be put out of the way.
You knew this.
I knew it, and I think Dave knew it too. He tried to tell you that last day.
Where's the justice? You all just let him die!
Maddox?
You ask where justice is. Maybe it's here, Liddy.
Yes. You passed the sentence. And I'm good.
Go on. Let it go. Let it out. Let it all go. You'll be all right, I promise. I promise you. In case you were wondering, Shane, I only carry 5 bullets in my gun, too.
Let's go home, Tom.
It's all right, honey. It's all right now.
Grandpa?
Come on, Joey. Thanks, Shane.
Good night, Shane.
Good night.
Grandpa, aren't you ever coming to bed?
But I am, boy. Coming right now.